And we're back with another superpower rant. Today's epic episode involves a man made of sand. Is he good? Is he bad? Who knows? How does his power work? Let's find out. It's superpower rant. I'm Pleading Agent. Let's get into it. We got Sandman. Okay, this was redeemed by Bendable Straws. Thank you, Bendable Straws, for the redemption. I can already tell I'm going to hate Sandman because of what he can do. I feel is so illogical, so far removed from science that I feel like I won't be able to even stand this character. But that being said, he's a super fun character. So let's see if maybe they can put a little bit of interest into my mind with his powers and how they work. History: William Baker was the son of Floyd Baker and his wife. Obviously, there had to be a woman somewhere in there. William's father left while William was an infant. Just happens sometimes, some sort of traumatic event always leads to traumatic life choices. As a child, impoverished, he learned how to steal. Young William loved going to the beach and building sandcastles, but trips to the beach were far and few between because his mother was an alcoholic. Wow, just going hard at this guy, and his family life is just a disaster already. Okay, here we go. One day, William built a large and detailed sandcastle only to watch it wash away when it started to rain. Okay, now I'm just pausing briefly. I actually don't know a lot about the history of Sandman, like how he got his powers, and I'm kind of digging this backstory. That said, it probably have zero effect on whether I like his power or not. The young baker boy became determined that he was going to make something that would last. William took his love of making things out of sand and used it for school art projects. Oh, he's like turning this around, and he could be something. He could really make himself he could really make himself into something here. All right. He developed a crush on his teacher, Miss Flint. Oh boy, that's not good. But was heartbroken when he learned that she was engaged to a stockbroker. Why there a stockbroker matters is a little strange, but okay. This made William believe that the only way to attract a beautiful woman was with money. Okay. It's like I should just continue reading. Always just continue reading, okay? Baker was tormented by an older student named Vic. On the day he learned that Miss Flint was going to be married, Vic and his friends trashed William's work and beat him up. William ran home to his mother without telling any of the school administrators what happened and was determined to look after himself. The next time Vic and his friends tried to bully William, he fought back and easily trounced them. When he got in trouble with the school principal, William couldn't help but notice that not only were his bullies afraid of him, but girls noticed him fighting back as well. For the first time in his miserable life, William felt joy. Oh my, okay. Anyway, soon enough, young William became a bully in his own right, beating up on those smaller than him. Soon, William became friends with Vic and his goons and rapidly rose to be the leader of their gang. To sound tougher, William called himself Flint after his old teacher. In high school, Baker became a football star and began dating a cheerleader named Marcy. Some M name. William has given 2 accounts of what happened next. Okay, we got like a divided, we don't know what's true. He stated that he accepted money from the mob to throw one of his games, while a late recounting, William has stated that his friend Vic had racked up heavy gambling debts and threw the next game to get out of trouble. Whatever the case, William's coach figured out what happened and had him expelled from school. However, in a later account, William had stated that he violently assaulted his coach after he confronted him. Flint and Vic then began committing petty crimes and started working their way up. Blah, blah, blah. I don't care. I mean, I care, but I don't care. I care, but I don't care. We know he's going down a path. We get it. Becoming Sandman is what I care about. Let's do this. The events that led up to William Baker becoming the Sandman vary from account to account. Okay, wait. So we don't actually know how he became? In one telling, Flint caught Vic and Marcy having an affair. Oh, come on, Vic. Why would you do that? After beating up Vic, he went to a crime spree that led to yet another incarceration, sent to Rikers Island. Flint eventually broke out of prison, causing a manhunt, led him getting his powers. Yeah, that's what we care about, is the powers. How did he get them? Another states that during one of his later arrests, Flint learned that his father was released from prison and broke out in order to be with him. Why would he want to be with his father if his father left him when he was an infant? People are complicated. It's not for me to judge that. It's not for me to judge that. I'm only here to judge his power. Okay. It was during his flight from the authorities that Flint Marko was exposed to the radiation that gave him his powers. Accounts of the actual cause vary. Man, everything in this guy's life varies, just like the blurriness of my camera varies. All right. Originally, it was stated that Flint hid from the authorities at the site where a nuclear bomb was being tested. Another account states that Marko was near the site of a nuclear reactor that detonated. And yet another states that he hid in a cave where radioactive waste was being stored. Moral of the story, radioactive energy, power, ooze of some kind, chemical, radiation, he was radiated. After being exposed to the radiation, his body interacted with the sand under his feet, mutating Marko in such a way that he could turn his body into sand and manipulate each grain to shape any form he desired. Flint has stated that it was after his powers he caught Vic and Marcy together and unleashed his powers on them in a fury before fleeing, but he left them alive. So he just what? Sprinkled sand on him? Like, psh, you better get lubed, because you're gonna need it. Psh, I just sanded you. Okay, whatever. Powers. Sand body. Sandman's body is an amorphous blob of animated sand. He originally possessed the abilities to mold the sand into a shape that appeared to be completely human, and from that form, convert his body or parts of it back into sand at will. How much control does he have over this form, and how similar does it function to his previous state is not yet known. Okay. So he's actually just sand. He's not a person anymore, right? The sand body power makes me think he looks human, but he's actually just sand granules. He's tiny pieces of glass, pebbles, what have you. He is just sand that can be moved and shaped into different positions to look like a human, right? Sand control transfer. Since Marko's original body is dead, okay, yeah, he's dead, which is also weird. He is capable of giving control of his sand form to another body. He once used his ability with Spider-Man. What? How can you give your sand body control to someone else? Like, what? So Spider-Man could control and manipulate his sand body? I hope Spider-Man asked for permission first, otherwise that is rude. What? Immortality. Sandman is immortal in the sense that he no longer ages because he's just rocks. A possible future version of him had lived for billions of years. I guess because of different dimensions and whatnot, different whatevers. They're not giving me enough here to like even be able to grip on anything. I very much am of the nature of the mindset of science-based powers, something relating to science, something that I can understand and like logically go from one step to another to get to this power, you know? But he's dead, so how does sand, an inanimate object, have any sense of being, any consciousness? You know? And not just like one piece of sand, millions of pieces of sand. That really is. And then also it's like, it says that he is this consciousness of sand, but wouldn't it only be that sand? Like in the comic books and in the movies and stuff, he can just pull in all kinds of sand. He can use any sand and make it animated. But this makes me feel like it should only be the amount of sand that it was originally hit with the nuclear power mutation, right? It seems so wishy-washy to me, and I don't love it. Self-sustenance, sure. He no longer requires food, air, or rest. That makes sense because he's just a fucking pile of rocks. Body conversion sand. Okay, Sandman originally possessed the superhuman... You can't even call it superhuman ability because he's not human anymore. He's dead by all definition. A superhuman ability to convert his body into sand by mental command. But no, earlier it just said there is no body. He is sand. The sand functioned identically to and appeared to be normal flesh. However, he could convert all or parts of his body into animated sand at will. His brain had attained subliminal awareness of all granulated particles of his body. Through conscious effort, he could affect the degree of molecular cohesion between the numerous adjoining surfaces of his particles, and thus cause locomotion of discrete volumes down to the individual grains. Okay, see, this is more like science-y talk, which is I like, but it still doesn't make any sense that it would appear to be normal flesh. Like, sand's still gonna look like sand. Sure, you could, organize, because sand comes in various colorings. You could, like, organize each, piece of sand with proper colors to make it look like a different color tone. So maybe you could get somewhat of a color tone that looked humanish, but it would never look like human normal flesh. Like, let's be honest, there's no way. Anyway, it appears to be no limit on how long the Sandman could remain in his stand state. If he had been to a rendered unconscious, how can he be rendered unconscious if he only is consciousness? It doesn't make any sense. While in his sand state, he would remain in that state, although the relaxing of his control over his particles would cause him to become an amorphous pile of sand. Sandman's mind continued to function in astral form even when he had turned his head into sand, and even when the particles of sand that composed his brain were widely scattered. Also, it's like, I don't care. Let's not say that. Sure, you can, like, form the appearance of a body because you've seen bodies, but unless this guy knows the intricacies of, like, what a human brain looks like and is composed of, and what the insides of your body look like, how can he just, like, recreate his sand to look like that stuff? It just said, like, he made a brain out of sand. Like, there's no way. There's no way. The limit of how far the particles of his brain can be dispersed before he was unable to reassemble is not yet known. So no! No! That whole sentence is... No! So now they're saying the sand particles that make up his brain, which is just sand, if those particles that he formed into a brain are scattered far enough, he could potentially cease to exist because the particles wouldn't be able to identify themselves or put themselves back together into a brain again? But they just said he's an astral consciousness. It has no effect on how far or what. This is getting worse. This is getting worse. Okay, he's got superhuman strength. As a consequence of having a body composed of animated sand, it would be super heavy. He has superhuman strength. I don't like it. It's sand. So, okay, here's the thing. If you like stack sand up, like a big enough pile of sand underneath a vehicle, if you just build up a pile of sand underneath and just push that vehicle up, you're going to be able to lift a vehicle. There has nothing to do with muscle or strength. It's just like you're building up a mass underneath, and sand has it's very strong. It won't break under that pressure. You just have to build up enough to displace an object. So to me, it's not super strength. It's just you're displacing something with a mass amount of sand particles. This is all effed right up. Density control. His radically mutagenically altered body. The terminology they are using is scattered all over the map as well. It's bothering me greatly. Body composition and increased density enable him to compact or loosen the particles of sand that make up his form. Consequently, Sandman can become as hard as sandstone or disperse his body so that it becomes invulnerable to physical attacks. A favorite tactic of Sandman is making himself slightly dispersed when an opponent punches him, and making it rock and trapping his opponent. I mean, super fun in theory. Great, I love it. How it actually works sounds like magical, unknown baloney, so I hate it, okay? I hate it. Okay, shape-shifting, yeah, okay, I get the point. You can shape-shift because you can move sand into different shapes. Sandblast, you can push, great. Glass generation. Sandman learned some new tricks from the wizard. Great, we're actually just bringing magic into this now, which is the worst form of power in my mind in this case scenario, because magic has zero science. It's just powers for power's sake baloney, including altering the formation of his sand particles and reshaping them into glass. Okay, how about this? He just applies a blowtorch to his hand and it melts into glass. Where's the magic? You can just science that. You don't have to magic it. This granted him the ability to reflect light and energy off of him. Great, whatever. Reformation, yeah, he can come back together. Sand conversion, this is all the same bullshit. He could also convert common grains of sand around him into constitutes of his body to replenish portions he might lose track of during battle. So his little consciousness, which is like millions of little consciousnesses into each pebble of sand that makes up his body, can be dispersed, and he can just float those consciousnesses, that's not a word, into new particles on the ground to make sure he's a full sand being. I hate it. Sand clones. Thanks to having such good mental control over his own molecules, he is able to create duplicates of himself. Great. Each one capable of acting on its own. How does that work? I'm just like thinking, acting on its own makes me feel like this sand body can go and do a task and focus on one life, while this sand body can go and focus on a completely other task. Multiple sand bodies just doing multiple things. How do you even... I can barely read and talk at the same time. How is this guy literally living multiple lives at the same time? Get out of here. Get out of here. Wall crawling? He was somehow capable of using his sand to allow him to walk up walls. Sit. That's it. As if it wasn't bad enough already. You add wall crawling. You add wall crawling. Okay, so here's... I'm going to science the answer for wall crawling to make it make sense. So walls, unless it's a wall of pure glass, which even then, everything, every material, no matter how smooth it feels, deep down on a molecular level, has pits, you know, what do you call it? It's rough. It's got, hills and valleys. On molecular level, everything has hills and valleys, right? So if he can form his hand around those and molecular level use the sand and press it into all of those little crevices in the wall. So if it's like a brick wall, there's plenty of porous area to fill in. He could literally grip onto that and actually climb the wall doing that. How quickly you could do that using your consciousnesses of sand bits, I don't know. But yes, I think you could actually make a scientific analysis to make that work. This was like the last straw for me, but as actually might be the only scientifically possible thing here, if you could control sand in that way. Anyway, I hate the Sandman now more than I want to. I apologize for everyone who I may have ruined Sandman for. His powers are redonkulous. I hate them. I hate that he is dead. They say he's dead, but he's conscious within millions of particles of sand, which can magically do whatever the hell they want. And to the point of magically looking like human flesh. Like, it doesn't make any sense, okay? I don't like it. I do like Sandman in the comics. He's a fun character. And the backstory was great. I love the backstory. I love it. His powers got me on edge. They got me on edge. So I'm going to leave it there. I hope you enjoyed this superpower rant. If you did, please leave a comment, like, and subscribe. I'm Cleaning Agent. Keep it clean. We'll see you for the next one.